Welcome to Behind the Model, a show diving into the virtual world and exploring its stories with the VTubers who lead the way. Radiation is something that all of us have to deal with in our lives, but it's never really a daily experience, at least on an intense level. Radioactive is a little bit different. If you didn't get the hint from the name, they've had a fair bit to do with it, not just in the VTubing world, but in real life, that shaped who they are today, and that's what we're here to talk about. Radia, welcome to Behind the Model.
Hi, my name's Radia. It's a pleasure to be here and talk about my interesting experience, to say the least. One that's unique, but not completely unshared with other people, which is the funny part, to say the least.
Yeah, I love how, first of all, based just straight off the name, it's like a nice little pun off the top there. But I remember when you first reached out, when I did the call out post, and, your story just deeply fascinated me as someone who never really toyed around with the sciencey fields, and I was like, oh, this sounds like an interesting topic I could chew someone's brain out for 30 minutes on, so here we are now.
I'm happy to talk about it. It definitely is interesting, because I think most people's like interpretation of radiation might just be Chernobyl, and that's like it.
You're probably right there, and I think
Probably.
yeah, that's probably as good a place as any to start in terms of what is the background that led you to this point? Because it's pretty obvious that Radioactive, the name, the model with all of the fluoro green, has something probably to do with all of that.
Oh yeah, no one couldn't guess through the actual like radiological symbols in my eyeballs. Like, never could figure that one out.
No.
The hint was definitely not there. It's definitely never there. So I ended up after university, I ended up working in a government lab. So I did work there with a lot of domestic and foreign samples. Can't really say too much because NDA do be a hell of a thing, and I would rather cut my legs off than break my own NDA. But I worked with air, soil, water, and tissue samples, and a lot of that was from sites that had, contamination in various forms, and that did include like nuclear issues. Some of it was like super fun sites. It came with the issue of having to deal with radioactive material. So that was something I dealt with for, almost 3 years. So that was very not fun, but it was interesting work, to say the least. But it came with its own set of like dangers, and I didn't realize how much I had been exposed to over time. I think like the first issues were like skin problems, where I started having a lot of like dermatological issues, like not being able to sweat in certain places, or I had like patches where hair didn't grow anymore. Because again, I was washing like apertures that you had to do these samples in, and you can't really stick them in a dishwasher. You have to do it by hand. And the great thing about that is I let the water get on me because they didn't give us, PPE that was really, I think, fully equipped for the job, to say the least. So we had gloves that were too short. We had, they didn't really make you wear full suits because they didn't have them except for the rad room. And so if you're washing dishes and stuff, you were just wearing gloves and they weren't long enough. So you're just getting it all on your skin day in, day out. Or if you were, in there, you were still working around many things where you could just breathe in dust, touch stuff you're not really supposed to, and be exposed to things. Obviously, like, a relative amount of risk, because chemical engineering comes with a shortened lifespan. Like, they tell you that when you go into it. They're like, yeah, do plan on you just having an overall shorter lifespan for this form of engineering, and
you're going to be exposed to so many different things, and
you accept some relative degree of risk, but you don't really accept human negligence and corporate negligence, essentially, or government negligence, I should say, and the aspects of human error that come into play. You don't expect someone to lie to you, essentially, which is kind of the situation I encountered in many aspects, which is unfortunate, but it do be what it do be, I say.
Look, you can't really change the past now, so...
No, I can't, but I can go forth, and that has influenced my future, and it's influenced, obviously, the path I've taken with my design choice in VTubing, and it's definitely given, a very interesting spin on my concept, which is fun and I think unique. I don't really see other people with it, so I stand out at least in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people would associate, you know, all of that with like a negative connotation of, you know, maybe life ruining or, you know, life detrimenting, but you've managed to harness it in, I guess, a way that is very positive in terms of shaping your design around it. And even though you've mentioned on stream before and on Twitter, like, you know, the health effects that you've suffered as a result, but you have also harnessed the design and a kind of new leaf of life out of it. Can you talk a little bit about that and like that kind of conscious decision?
Yeah, so I kind of went through a lot of struggles. Like as I left that place of work, I made the decision to leave because my overall health got really bad. Before I even started working there, like I already had an autoimmune condition. So I probably shouldn't have worked there. Let's be honest. When I saw the contract, I probably should have just walked out the door and been like, maybe not today. I probably should have chosen an entirely different field, to be honest. But those are like past decisions. I went because I wanted to help people. I wanted to help the world. And I feel in some regards I failed to do that, but now I kind of am taking it in a way with content creation where I can help people. And I feel like I can do that because people have been like, oh, you make me smile or you make me happy when I watch you. And I'm like, that's a good feeling. No one really said when I worked in that field, you make me smile, you make me happy. It was definitely never that. It was like, can you please return the sample cooler, please? Please, thank you. It was never really kudos for anything.
Yeah.
But I wanted to turn a negative into a positive. And so through all the like, you know, medical issues that come with it, organ issues, you know, dermatological issues, all that stuff that comes with this, I wanted to make something that was kind of my own moment in the sun, which I feel is something content creation gives you. The freedom of expression with VTubing is you're able to take negative experiences and make them something that is positive. Like I get to sit in my own little forest and this is my own little ray of sunshine I get to cultivate and bask in. And that's really nice. I don't view anything that happened as necessarily a negative. It's just part of my life that has led to this point. And I'm appreciative of it in many ways because people like the design and they think it's pretty nifty. And trying to tell the story sometimes is hard because it has a lot of emotion behind it for many reasons, mostly because of the health impacts. Those are a struggle on the day-to-day basis, and I don't talk about them too much because it's just hard, and it's hard to be, I think, open with people as a content creator about those struggles because people are there to have fun, and I don't want to, you know, I guess to simplify it, ruin the vibes, as one might say. It's not very poggers, as the kids say. I'm once again going to ruin the vibes. I am sorry. But I don't want to do that when I'm just trying to have fun as well. But my whole pathway was trying to make a negative into a positive. And I get to be a 4-armed monster lady, which is pretty darn fun. And I also get to answer silly questions like, you know, in theory, could you use ionizing radiation to like Bruce Bannerize yourself? Sure. In practice, no.
No.
Please don't do that.
Look, just because something is theoretically possible doesn't mean we should really try to push for it.
You really shouldn't.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't. I mean, unless you feel extra spicy and just want to do the thing one time, I don't recommend it.
Does content creation give you a kind of personal fulfillment that you couldn't necessarily get in your previous life when it was focused on, like, you know, the scientific side of things and all that?
Oh gosh, yes. Because the thing is like on a day-to-day basis, there was never like an appreciation for the work I did. It was just work. It was just government work. You just, you know, go through what you need to do and you produce the thing you need to produce, which is, you know, sample analytics and data after you're done with everything, and you write up your report and that's it. And usually it's like, you might get a good job, but that, you know, that's rare. It's just, it is what it is. It's routine, it's mandatory stuff. But when I'm doing content, when I'm doing like coding on stream or programming or, you know, showing people how to control Elden Ring with their voice or any other random thing, People have fun, and people have told me they enjoy it. Even if I'm just chatting, it's really nice to actually see uh, how people interpret what you do and have a deep appreciation for it, because that's not really something I felt when I did, a prior hobby in cosplay, and it's not something I felt in work at all. Here, when I get on stream, people have actually they're like, oh my gosh, I'm really happy that you're on. I get to put you on and lurk while I'm working, and they're like, I'm really glad I can listen to you. I actually get like live positive affirmation, which is very different from I think any other field I've ever had a hobby in or even worked in. It's not something that's very common. But when I get on stream, that's been a very, very common thread almost every stream. And to me, that's been strange because people are very open with their compliments. And that's not something I've experienced until content creation, at least in the live streaming format. Because I guess you can say I did content creation with cosplay, but that felt very weird and also very stale and isolatory, whereas this feels more social, and I'm also more connected to people than I think ever before. Even though I'm on the other side of a screen, I'm still relatively connected to people.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there in terms of the coding streams and the content that you decide to do, as well as your past in cosplay. I mean, let's stick to the chronological order with cosplay. What kind of drew you towards that field? And I guess I'm going to make the assumption here that being interested in cosplay made it a bit easier to make the jump into streaming and VTubing down the line.
Oh yeah, I think there's definitely the cosplay to VTuber pipeline. And I've seen it a lot because I listen. Cosplay was an escapism, and so is VTubing as well. I'm not going to lie to you. It's pretty much the same thing. I just don't have to go and sew something for 80 plus hours and then dress up at a convention and walk around for another 10 hours, and then my feet hurt and I want to pass out. I basically get to cosplay virtually and also do a lot of wacky fun stuff. But I got into cosplay because it was a mental escapism. I really went hard with it. Kind of near tail end of university, and then through a lot of my work, and it was my own personal way to not be me in so many regards. I was like, oh, I don't have to be sick, I don't have to be tired, I don't have to be trapped in a windowless lab for 6 days a week. I can just be whatever character I'm dressing up as. And that was kind of refreshing in a way, but it also became very isolating because people just saw that, and it became not really about me and not about what I did. It was more just the aesthetics of the thing. And that felt very, very lonely after a period of time. Whereas when I saw VTubing, I saw people actually bonding with their community and bonding with other people in a way that wasn't just, oh, this is the entire aesthetics of the thing, but it was actually caring about what they did and what they wanted to do and the things they had aspirations for. And I was like, that looks pretty neat. And also I don't have to wear pants. And I think that's pretty swell. So I would like to not wear pants, and I would like to just be a fancy anime character and give this a whirl. So I did. And I really wish I had tried it sooner because this is a lot more fun. I'm not gonna lie, this is great.
I was gonna say, the best of both worlds.
Much fun. I know, because I can swap outfits and stuff, and you can just magically switch your hair and your eyes, and it's so easy. You don't have to put on makeup or anything. It's the best. It's so much fun, and I think this is also a different creative outlet in the way that I'm able to do more here than I was with cosplay. And I also feel like I have a greater impact on people. As weird as that sounds, no one ever was like, you make me happy in cosplay. It was always like, oh, this looks really good. Oh, that looks so hot. It was always very aesthetic surface level compliments. It never was, you've made my day better just by being here and just by being online or in my presence and doing whatever you do. That's been a very new common thread for me as far as VTubing goes, which is nice. And I do appreciate it very much when people say that. The first time I got it was a huge surprise. I was like, wait a minute, what? You're you enjoy this? You're here to just hang out?
You want to be
I'm
here?
happy. You want to be here? What? Okay, I'll take it. It does make me happy though. It really does. It's a different feeling. It's a different feeling of appreciation that you get from people who watch, I think, live streamers and content creators in the same vein than just appearing as an image on like Instagram or Twitter or whatnot. It's a lot different. There's actually a personality, whereas you don't get the personality when it's just an image. There's actually like a more human connection, whereas you see me as a person.
What kind of drew you to, I mean, because they overlap a little bit in terms of cosplay and VTubing as a way of creative expression, what kind of drew you to that method of being able to change how you look and change like the way that people see you and the way that you maybe want to see yourself?
I wanted to socialize with people, honestly. When the pandemic hit, it was really lonely. I felt very isolated from people. Obviously, I have an autoimmune condition. It's kind of hard to go out to certain places. Even now, if I go to a convention, I accept a relative degree of risk. I get sick almost after every like large social event, even if it's between like, you know, a couple of friends. I'm probably gonna go get some sort of cold, whatever. I'm getting something. I'm going to get the ick, and that's okay. I kind of just deal with that. But it's nice to be able to socialize with people in a way that doesn't put me at risk for not feeling good or ending up, you know, worst case scenario, like in the hospital. It's really nice. So this drew me towards that as being a safe medium for social interaction and also for greater creativity, because I felt like I was really stunted in cosplay. I felt like, oh, okay, I'm just making outfits. And like, obviously that takes skill and, you know, tact and engineering abilities if you're doing, you know, weaponry and whatnot. But it just felt very empty because I make this thing and people see it and then it kind of just goes away. I don't do anything else with it except maybe it'll come back out for another shoot or something. But like my presence isn't there a lot. Whereas with streaming and stuff, I'm able to come on multiple times a week and be present for a couple of hours and socialize and connect with people, which drew me to it, honestly, because I wanted to have a place where I could almost just, you know, kind of chat with friends. And that was nice during the pandemic. I was really glad that, and obviously I got into it during the really, really tail end of everything.
Yeah.
But I started watching, you know, streamers in 2020, and I never really had before. And I was like, I get the appeal now. I see this. I see why people like this, because it is kind of like a really interesting open forum. And you go into people, you can even just lurk. But if you're like actively chatting, it's an interesting open forum to have someone discuss with you live, maybe your thoughts or commentary on whatever is happening. That's a very dynamic and interesting way to create content. And that wasn't something I'd experienced until then.
Yeah. Have you been to a con as a VTuber?
As a VTuber, like I haven't cosplayed as myself, no. But I've been to conventions. Like after I became a VTuber, I've been to a few. I went to MagFest this year. Obviously, I was just in like, you know, tech wear and chilling about, but I hung out with some other VTubers and I went to a VTuber panel, which was one of the groups. I think it was the group's first VTuber panel. I went to VT Rainbow's first VTuber panel at MagFest this year, which was MagFest 2023. It was really good. It was really fun. I will say, VTubers at conventions is gonna be tough because the internet in there is not good. So I think that's going to be the struggle of like having VTubers appear at conventions. Many of them are going to have to figure out better internet and at least upgrade, because it do be a struggle.
Yeah,
but to sometimes broadcast for very fancy models.
Yeah. But I guess like the comparison there is how does your experience as a VTuber at conventions, even if it's not like an official paneling or tabling,
it's so relaxing.
Compared to cosplay?
Relaxing. Yeah. Oh God, it's so relaxing. I was so relaxed that entire weekend. I putzed around. I talked with friends, and I was like, oh, this is the best convention experience I've ever had. I was like, I don't have to go judge cosplays. I don't have to go to any photo shoots. I can just talk with people and hang out.
Mm.
And that was very fun. Because usually when I was at conventions prior, there was always a schedule. I always had stuff to do. And it was always like mandatory stuff. I always had to go judge something, or I had to go be at this booth, or I had to go be here, be there, be at this panel. And I didn't really get to socialize with people other than the people that were just directly in that orbit that I already knew. And some of them we were not amicable with. So it was more just this like weird, cold antagonism between certain parties, because that just, you know, nature of life. And when I went to MagFest, it was just very casual. I just hung out with people. I went to parties, and I was just a goober the entire weekend. It was just a good time. I didn't really have a set schedule. I woke up when I wanted to. I rolled into the convention when I wanted to. I went where I pleased, and that was very liberating. So going as a incognito VTuber, not a cosplayer, to a convention, definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Definitely the way to go.
Would you ever go on your VTuber model now, like with a cosplay of that?
I would love to. The only problem is, if I show the full model, you'll see why it's kind of hard to cosplay this, because there's a lot going on. There's I got 4 arms, first of all. That's fun. I'd have to find someone who makes custom contacts, second. There's the scorpion tail, which isn't like that hard to make. It's just, it's a lot of stuff. And I feel like I could only bring this to a very either local convention or a convention I can drive to, because I really do not want to ship this like halfway across the country in a box and then ship it back to my house. If I was gonna go to like TwitchCon or something,
and hope it
I
gets
don't want to ship
pace.
that to Vegas.
Yeah,
it'd be so much money because it would need a really big box, and I just don't feel like dressing up in hot weather. Let's be honest, I'm too old now. I'm too old and tired. Getting that too old and crotchety zone where I'm like, nah. I'm just gonna wear sneakers and like tech wear. We're good now.
We can call it an old outfit, you know.
Honestly, yeah. I've worn like some tech wear stuff to conventions that's been like inspired by my VTuber, but definitely not a one-to-one recreation.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I think I'm at that point where I'm like, nah, I just want to be comfy.
Yep.
I'm like, I just want to be comfy. I no longer want to be the try hard where I'm trying to like do 4 different cosplays in a weekend. I just no, not anymore. No.
You're past that grind.
I am off of the cosplay grind, and I am now on the content creation kind of grind. Thank you.
Yeah.
As I do things in the background for other people, for the funnies. Because I very much am like a cryptid. I just exist in random places and do things for others, and they're like, wait, you made that? I'm like, I did indeed. Well, I am the maker of the weird code.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit in terms of what kind of content you do and kind of what drew you to exist in the content spaces that you do, because like you said, you do a lot of coding streams. Another big thing that you've done a lot recently that has been a hit is the nuclear science streams on a Sunday and all that kind of stuff.
Those have been fun. Those have been nice brain drain streams where I'm like, all right, I guess we're just going to talk about orphan sources for like 3 hours.
What's it like sharing that?
It's really fun because I've gotten a lot of people who just really enjoy the Just Chatting streams, where it's kind of it's a very unplanned stream of consciousness where I will just kind of like ADHD doodlebop between different aspects of nuclear history. Like I've talked about structural integrity of nuclear power plants before, all the way to just talking about specific like radiological incidences, like in Leah, Georgia, not the state, you know, the country, and talking about like RTGs and orphan sources and all that stuff, which I think is really interesting. And people tend to find that aspect of history interesting because it's lesser talked about. Like if you're going to try and learn about, you know, nuclear history, usually people are like, it starts and ends usually at like 3 Mile Island and then Chernobyl and then nothing else. Those are usually the 2 that people go into, and then it just stops. And usually the information they understand about it is also very surface level or vague or completely wrong. Usually in the case of 3 Mile Island, it's completely wrong. In fact, of just the scope and proportion of the issues that happened on that day, which is always an interesting conversation to have. But I enjoy it. I think it's fun. And people also get to ask, questions that might be on their brain.
Yeah.
And I can answer it in both like an educational and also, joking way. Like, again, nuclear history, radiation, nuclear weaponry, all of that is a serious topic, but it can be fun, and you can make it like enjoyable. You can make it funny. It doesn't have to be cut and dry all the time, which is where I try and bring like jokes into it. So
is it destigmatizing in a way as well, where you're able to be that kind of facilitator of education, and like, you considering it's something that you're very well acquainted with and a subject that you're very well knowledgeable on, you're able to kind of bust those myths and kind of destigmatize the space?
Yeah, because one of the things people ask me about is like, are you angry that you were exposed to radiation? Or are you angry that you deal with these problems? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not angry at radiation. I'm not angry at nuclear materials. I'm not angry at any of that. I don't hold malice towards it. The thing that I might hold any malice towards is, again, human error, and very pointedly government negligence is one of the biggest things. And so it's something I reiterate over and over again when I talk about this stuff, is most of the nuclear accidents are human error, or it is just negligence. It is not the fault of these materials. It is the fault of people very oftentimes that results in this. And we need to increase human understanding of these topics and of these materials, of these situations. And I think that's a very healthy point, to just destigmatize things like nuclear energy, things like, nuclear waste storage. People don't really understand how that works, or even how a nuclear power plant functions. People don't understand the different types of them. And I think it's good. I think it's good for people to understand and start destigmatizing what some of those things are, especially with nuclear energy, since there's been a cavalcade against it for, past 50 plus years in the States. It's not been heavily, advocated for. It's been admonished as a source of energy. So trying to destigmatize that and actually show that it is safe. There are safe ways to store nuclear waste. All of this is good for people to understand, since there has been like a fear campaign against it for so long. And just because accidents happen, just because people do get hurt in rare situations, doesn't mean that is the norm. I say to people, I'm like, this is not the norm. This is not what should happen. People shouldn't be mistakenly exposed to these things. This is not the standard thing that happens every day. These are unfortunate, blips on the radar that do happen. And that just happens in every field. Every field has unfortunate incidences, from, mechanical engineering to chemical to, trains, planes, ships, something goes wrong everywhere, every time, every place.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, the planes one, the first one I thought of was like, the 737 MAX and all that kind of stuff like 5 years ago.
God.
So there you go.
Oh boy.
Yep. That's a whole nother topic for a whole other video.
Aeronautics.
Yeah. I have a little bit of background there, so there you go. For me, I kind of want to wrap this up a little bit, talking about your other scientific pursuits and other technical pursuits in terms of your coding, which, by the way, how do you find all the time to learn all of this stuff? First engineering, now software development and coding.
Okay, the answer is no sleep. I'm just kidding. I do get sleep. A lot of it is from my job currently, since I transitioned engineering fields to now I do like networking and stuff, and networking architecture overall. So I started learning a bit of that when I got into that field, and it was, again, for job priorities and ways to automate things and make things go faster for my workload. But then I was like, wait, I could use this in content. And so I was like, I could mod video games and I could do funny things. And so I was like, well, can I control games with my voice? The answer is yes, you can. It's not that hard. I say, knowing it can be kind of a pain in the butt.
Knowing full well it is actually difficult for someone with no experience, but
knowing full well it can be a little difficult, but it is very fun. So I wanted to take things that I do on the daily that sometimes drive me crazy, and I wanted to make them fun. Because, like, obviously, if I'm doing things for work, it's not that fun. I'm trying to automate stuff to make, Excel work go faster, aspects of my engineering work go quicker. But if I'm doing it for content, it's very fun, like making things and modding things for like Barotrauma, for instance, or games like GTFO. It's very fun to just make funny mods and see people enjoy that content and change the way that you play a game and that everyone else has played the game. Like, for instance, I was like, I'm not playing Tears of the Kingdom until I can mod it to high hell and back, because I want to make it interesting and fun in a different way. I want to make my playthrough different, and I want to make it very weird. So I kind of indulge in being able to do that. But the learning aspect and like setting aside time, one of the things I do, and it kind of helps me like passively learn, is I'll put on tutorial videos and I will listen to them while I'm going on walks or while I'm at the gym, while I'm cleaning, and I kind of passively absorb the information. Other times it is literally doing some of it on stream while I'm just chatting, and I'm actively learning. I'm trying to figure things out through typing code on stream. I'm like, oh, this is wrong. I should do these values instead. Or like, this is a thing I have to go do and learn now and make notes of it. And so that kind of gives me an opportunity to learn. I didn't understand how to VTube when I started. So this has been an active learning experience through the entire, past like year or so. It's been learning how to like, how do you VTube? So it's very much the same thing, as I try and set aside time for it. And helping out other people with their own projects has kind of been another way that I force myself to set aside time to learn, because I'm like, I can do it. I just need to go learn a few more things and then I can do it. So it's, if people bring me an idea that sounds interesting, I will definitely take the ball and run with it. And that has given me the opportunity to learn things, albeit, will it take me a bit longer? Sure, I work a full-time job and then do this. But it's still very enjoyable to do. So I don't sleep a ton. I sleep what I need to, which is like 6-7 hours. I'm fine. Trust me, I'm doing great.
I'm coping.
No, it's fine. I've never slept that much, honestly. It's just been a consistent thing. I've never slept that much, but I try and make time to learn things because it is important and I do enjoy it. Obviously, I can't do everything I want to do because I just don't have enough spare time. But I try and pivot and make time for the things that I want to do.
I guess, what's your favorite coding shenanigan or just general shenanigan on stream?
Okay, my favorite thing right now is I've been setting it up in the background and I'm about to give it to my chat, which is probably a mistake, to say the least.
Don't give chat anything. It's always a mistake.
Don't give chat anything. It has restrictions on it. Don't worry. So first thing I did was just go in and just make a ton of restrictions. So it just will not receive certain input. I'm going to have my chat assist in training a on-stream conversational AI bot. And that is also going to have the power to converse with me. And if I do say certain things during some playthroughs of games, it will also be able to trigger certain mods that will load in, and they will occur. And that can also bring in a lot of different effects. It just depends on the game at this point. Some of it can invert my controls. Some of it can, I don't know, summon a meteor. Some of it can just, set the entire landscape on fire or change the weather. All sorts of fun stuff. It's suffering is content.
It's like, I really don't want this to happen in this specific moment. It gets picked up. X thing happens.
X thing happens. It's very fun though, so I'm going to give them an opportunity to do that. Their god has become a tungsten cube. That's a long story for another time. But I'm making the bot itself. It's gonna have its own little, art and everything, and it's gonna be a tungsten cube. And we're calling it the Tungstans. So that's fine, and chat gets to train it. And getting them involved with stuff has been really fulfilling because they enjoy it. And I never thought that people would enjoy being involved in something to that relative degree, that much, but people do enjoy it. And I think it's very fun. And doing the challenges where my game can reset at certain points or I spawn in certain things if I say certain banned words is very funny. That in itself has been hilarious, and just watching chat try and trip me up has been a very, very fun series of events, because it's happened so they're getting smarter, which is the worst part.
They're evolving.
They're getting smarter. It's bad. It's really bad. They're getting really good, and it's getting to the point where when I introduce that conversational bot, I'm done for. Every like 25 minutes, I'm gonna end up resetting.
It's gonna be
they're
nothing but
gonna
pain.
get me. I mean, suffering is content. It is content at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not like I'm not in actual agony, but like my relative failure is very funny. It's funnier when I fail than when I succeed. Trust me.
Yeah.
It really do be.
You really do love like taking the hard beaten track on everything, you know. You're really taking the difficult path on everything.
A little bit. But I think that's the fun thing about content creation, is you get to be different. And obviously I don't do something like a corporate VTuber does. I do very weird stuff, and I get to have that freedom because I'm an independent creator, and I get to be weird with the things I want to do. And I also get to involve my chat in that, which is very fun. It has a super interesting communal aspect to it, and they also get to see themselves reflected in the content, which is fun. And I enjoy doing that. But obviously it's not an easy path to just develop new things consistently and also deploy them in a active scenario, especially on Twitch. That can be its own special nightmare if you're working with the Twitch API and just things stop the working. That's always fun.
Yeah.
I've had that. It's like, oh, halfway through, and it's like, so none of this works anymore. I'm gonna have to go figure this out right now. Whoopsies.
Yeah, unlucky, I guess.
Whoops. It's happened a couple of times where it's like things will work halfway through and then just like midway, nothing. And I'm like,
yeah.
Well, I seem to have made a grievous error and I don't know how to fix it.
Yep. Yep.
It's just a learning experience though at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, Radia, I hope you keep keeping your content weird, interesting, exciting, difficult, painful, torturous, whatever adjective you want to keep for it.
I most definitely will.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to have a chance to tell your story and get to chat to you a little bit more about, you know, your background and where you're going in VTubing, and I really appreciate you coming on Behind the Model, so thank you.
No, thank you for having me. I will definitely keep trying to figure out how to control a horse with my voice. It is an arduous process. Yeah, no, I don't recommend it. It's not the best. It's not the best, but it is funny. It is very funny.
Yeah. Well, Radia, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Radia is the latest guest on my new series, Behind the Model, diving into the stars who make VTubing the creative medium we love. If you're interested in more of Radia's story, you can read the accompanying article linked in the description. You can also find all of Radia's social media channels below. Thank you so much for all your support across the start of this series so far. I really appreciate it. If you could, please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel as well. And I would love to hear any of your feedback down in the comments or on Twitter. Until next time, thank you.